We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're doing the latest movie discussion, and that is on Fast 10 or Fast X. If you see the movie poster, because X means 10 in Roman numerals. They actually didn't do any funny jokes based off that with the Roman character. That would have been funny. But yeah, we're here to talk to you about Fast 10. We just got back from seeing it. We didn't talk too much about it in the car, so I'm excited to hear what Sarah has to say about it. Sometimes we talk a lot, and this time we didn't talk hardly at all. So it'll be fun.
Wanted to keep things fresh.
Yeah, we got to keep things fresh. So we'll talk to you a bit about what happened in the movie, and then give you our thoughts. And then it's up to you whether you want to see it or not. I feel like the movie is pretty straightforward. It's filled with action. It is filled with action. So there's not a whole lot of story elements, in my opinion. Basically, what's going on here is, I believe it was Fast 5 is when they were stealing the vault, and somewhere along the line, they killed the guy that owned the vault. Specifically, Dwayne Johnson's character killed the guy that owned the vault, and his son, which happens to be Dante, which is Jason Momoa's character, is out for revenge for his father's death. And so his goal is to take out not just Dominic Toretto and
his goal is to cause suffering.
Yeah, he's trying to do it to like everybody around Dom, not just Dom.
Right.
So we kind of start the movie with that callback to Fast 5, so we can kind of set up Momoa's character, and then we get like this family heartwarming beginning with Toretto and all of them, their backyard barbecues and whatnot, and we get to know Toretto's son a little bit. He has grown up. I don't remember how old he was in Fast 9, but he was a baby in Fast 8. So
he's probably somewhere around like 7 or 8 years old right now.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember a thing about Fast 9. So if that tells you anything of what I thought about it, there you go. But yeah, so we get to see a little bit of him, which was cool. We get the whole gang back together. We get to see one new character. I was contemplating where do I go with some of this stuff. But we get to see one also new character, which is Toretto's mom. She shows up at the family barbecue, is giving Dom some life lessons in the garage as he's looking at all his family photos. We find out that actually Dom and Letty, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, if I misinterpreted, I think she's pregnant with another kid. Well, with their first biological together.
It seemed like he was wanting her to be pregnant, and she was saying she wasn't pregnant yet, and to be patient, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I didn't know how to read that kind of, but there's something there where maybe they're going to add on to the Toretto family again. I will speculate on that once we get to our thoughts. So we get all this heartfelt stuff, and turns out that Roman has figured out some mission in Rome that he's picked up on so that they can, go out and make money and all that good stuff. So him, I forget their names. I remember his actual name. Ludacris's character.
I gotta admit, I'm pretty bad with their names.
I know Han, Roman, and Tej. I think isn't it how you pronounce it? Tej. Tej?
Yeah, sounds about right.
And I
Ramsey.
feel like there was one. Oh yeah, Ramsey. Ramsey was the fourth one that they all went out to Rome to try to do this mission. But what's interesting is that uh, the special forces or secret agents bust into Dom's house. And again, I know his real name, Little Nobody. He was the one in charge of this little operation looking for Dom and the gang. And Dom was like, well, the rest of the gang is looking for you in Rome. And he was like, why? And he didn't even know about this mission when, there was supposed to be this connection, but there really wasn't, which means the mission that Roman found was actually a setup. And it was a setup by Momoa's character, Dante. So this is how we first get the ball rolling with what's so funny.
If you Google the Fast X cast, you know what Jason Momoa is credited as on Google?
What?
Villain.
Wow.
They
Impressive,
didn't even
Google.
put his name on there.
So this is what gets the ball rolling as far as like the encounters between Dante and the group. Supposedly the thing that Roman and all of them think that they're stealing is actually a vehicle with a bomb in it. So and Momoa is able to take over this thing because Momoa, oh, I forgot one thing that we should have put in here. The night before Little Nobody shows up, there's also another character that shows up unexpectedly at Dom's doorstep, and that is Cypher. So Cypher was like the bad girl character in the last, I think, couple movies. I think she was introduced in Fast 8, where she was holding Dom's child hostage. But she shows up all bloody and stuff and says that she thought she was the devil, but turns out she met him tonight, and it was Dante's character. And basically what Dante did so that he could become so powerful is he kidnapped all the families of Cypher's workers and used that to turn her own people against her. And so or Dante, I keep wanting to call him Momoa. Dante's character steals all of her technology and her troops, essentially, and then tries to leave her for dead. But, she's so awesome. She kicks the people's butts and is able to get away and then warp Dom. So, with all that being said, that's how he's able to take control of the vehicles that Roman and all of them are trying to steal. So we get this huge sequence in Rome where Vin Diesel and all of them are trying to save their friends from the bomb, and Dante is trying to mess with them. But long story short, they are all framed as terrorists per Dante's plan. And so Letty gets captured. So she goes to jail, like underground jail where people can't find you. And then the rest of them get away for now, at least. Do you want to pick up where we are here?
Yeah, so Dominic somehow gets free to Letty's the only one that actually gets captured by the authorities. He sends John Cena's character. Do you remember his name?
I'll look it up.
Jacob.
Brother?
Jacob.
Yeah, Uncle Jacob.
Uncle Jacob. So he sends John Cena, Uncle Jacob, over to his house to take Little B, his son, to meet at the rendezvous point, which at this point in the story we don't know. But we later find out, I'm pretty sure it's in Portugal. So
and the reason why is because he finds out that there's this other group, right?
What?
Do you remember the second group? So there's Dante's character that's trying to take out Dom and all his friends. But there's also a second character. Let's see, what was his name? There's so many people in this movie. It's ridiculous.
You're talking about Ames?
Ames, yes. So do you want to talk about Ames?
Yeah, so essentially, Toretto's group, their whole racing group, had been working with the feds and now they're kind of against the feds. Not that they're against the feds, but the feds are against them. They're not protecting Toretto's group anymore. Um, and so somehow Dom knows that uh, essentially all these bounty hunters, like all throughout everywhere, are off to get, his family and his friends and his son, because that's how you get to Dom, right? So that's why he sends Uncle Jacob over to go take him secretly to the rendezvous point. So there's a whole like side mission of them driving down the road and going on an airplane and kicking some butt on the airplane of some guys that are trying to take them out, and they got this weird little tiny plane, I guess you could say, within the plane that they jump into from the cargo area that they escape through.
Which I thought was hilarious because it looked like, if you ever watch VeggieTales, Larry the cucumber, when he's Larry Boy, he has a vehicle that looks just like that. So I couldn't help but think about it when I saw it.
That's hilarious. I have not seen that, but that's pretty cute. So yeah, so Uncle Jacob's doing that. Dom's sister, who was with Little B, she kind of just runs off and does her own thing, I guess. We don't really see her the whole rest of the film, so she's off doing something, probably gonna save the day at the last minute sometime later. Ooh, this is where it starts to get messy.
I got the next one. But I will say, adding on to what happens to her, there's so many loose ends in this movie. It was almost ridiculous that we see some of these big people from throughout the whole franchise, where they kind of get their seed planted and then we don't see them again. So it's like they're going to be coming in the future films that are going to wrap up this whole series. But the next place that we end up going is that I don't remember the country. Oh, Brazil. It's Brazil. Dom goes to Brazil because he goes to see some old friends, and he's hoping that basically his friend or informant there that runs all the street racing stuff can connect him with his boss, which he does. And his boss is this female character who we find out is actually the sister of the agent that Dom had the child with. So the sister is dead from Fast 8, but this is her other sister. Wow, this is like Fast and the Furious calculus. So the baby mama's sister is who this is. And she's the one that's kind of in charge of the street racing stuff going on in this area in Brazil. However, Dante shows up at this little rally, and he shows up, which honestly starts to show some of his, I mean, we see some of his silliness in Rome, but this is where he really starts to step it up, in my opinion. And we'll talk more about his character when we talk about our thoughts. But he shows up, and Dom is mad at him for what he did, so he has like all this built-in anger, and Dante challenges him to a race, and the two groups, like when Dom is here, he's rejecting people left and right before Dante arrives for a race because everybody wants to race the best.
Well, I think Dom went here wanting to find Dante.
Oh, I bet. But so there's like this whole group of people there that work for Dante, and there's a whole group of people that have Dom's back, and they like pull guns on each other, but they don't actually fire. And this is where we see in the commercial where Toretto goes, "Let's race." And so him, Dante, and then the informant guy and the baby mama's sister's character all decide to race. There's the four of them. And basically what I think this was in the preview as well. Dante says to Dom, like, I've studied you for a long time now, and there's one thing I don't really understand, and that's how do you choose who you save in your family, kind of a thing. And so when they do this race, one thing that clicks in Toretto's mind is that Dante strapped bombs to the two cars. So the one, the informant friend and the baby mama sister, both their cars have mines on them. And so he says, like, who are you going to save? And so I believe Dom is actually closer to the girl because the informant dude used nitrous to be in first place. So Toretto like bumps the back of her car to try to like alert her that something's up because you normally don't bump cars in these races. And Dante takes that as, oh, you pick her. So he blows up the other dude's car. But then eventually tries blowing up the other girl's car too. She makes it out and is alive. I don't believe the other guy made it. I will.
Oh no.
Well, here's the thing, Sarah. So Fast and the Furious has this thing. It's worse than Star Wars that people that we think die don't actually die. So I'm trying to see whether these last few movies actually have, some substance that they're willing to let people die. So I think he's dead. I'm sorry, he didn't matter enough, so I think he's dead. He wasn't like one of the main dudes, and maybe that's their excuse for killing him, like actually killing him. But once this race is all said and done, Dom goes back to her apartment house area, and they are talking about. I really wish I knew the names. The baby mama. They're talking about like her last few days, how much she loved her family, and it turns out that her sister has some of the files on this Dante character, so that Toretto can take a look and get some information on him. And one of the piece of information that was huge, and I don't think we actually saw this come to fruition in the movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. The information that he got was that he found out what hiding spot he like has all his stuff at, and it's this abandoned police station. We never went there, did we, in the movie?
Yes, we did.
We did? Which part?
Yeah. That's where he found Dante's like shrine of TVs that was showing all the pictures he had of Toretto's family and stuff, and it was a setup because that's where the FBI agents came and took Toretto into custody.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Sounds like a good spot for you to take over.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to switch gears here and talk about what's going on with our other groups since we've been talking about Dom for so long. So our other group of we've got Han, Ramsey, Roman, and Tej. So they found out that their bank accounts have been stripped of all of their money, but lucky Mr. Roman basically has a suit made of cash underneath his suit, so he's got tons of cash on hand.
So before you go further, it's a hilarious scene. Can you explain the scene of their money being stolen?
Why don't you go ahead and explain it?
It was one of them. It was one of the most messed up scenes I have ever seen, especially in Fast and the Furious. This is when we kind of really get to see how kooky Dante is, and the scene opens up with him painting some toenails.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what you were going after. Yep.
Yeah, he was painting some toenails, and turns out like he's been keeping the people that he hires, like the dead bodies, and they're his friends. So like he tapes their faces together like so that their eyes stay open and their mouths stay open, so it looks like they may be alive and talking to him in his own imagination.
It's like the Pee Wee Herman movie when he tapes his face up.
Yeah, so like we have this character development scene of Dante's character where he's just really, really weird. So yeah, he takes care of all these dead people that are his friends, and he's like having this argument with himself of you should get back to work. And then he grabs his laptop, and that's when he steals all their money. So I just thought that was a fun scene that was in there that since you brought it up, we should kind of fill that in.
Yeah, no, that was a good scene. I wouldn't want to miss that. I'm pretty sure I looked at you like, what the heck?
Oh, I'm pretty sure we almost had some explicit dibs.
uh, yeah, so our groups had all their money stolen, but luckily, magically, Roman has this whole lot of cash on him from his like cash suit, if you will. So they're trying to figure out where they can get some vehicles and weapons because they know everybody's after them. Ramsey knows this like underground market guy who turns out to be Pete Davidson, if you know who that is. He's got these like weird shroom muffins that that Han gets into because he likes to eat. And we've got a lot of character development slash argument between Roman and Tej because, they've been butting heads and whatnot. But what Ramsey finds out is that she thought that this guy was going to help them, and instead he's turned them into whoever is paying the most money for their bounty right now. So they got to get out of there. And Han says, don't worry, I know a guy we can go to too. And so he actually brings them to Deckard Shaw. So we get to see his character again. He's beating up this like a punching bag that you can hear that there's somebody inside, which is really weird. We later see it's this guy in his underwear that just runs away. So random.
There's some messed up stuff in this movie.
There definitely is. At this point, a lot of FBI agents come, and so there's like this huge fighting sequence, and this seems like Han's going to use the car in some like really cool way to take out some guys. Really, he just runs a couple guys over, and it's not like as magical as you think that would be. But there is a lot of cool fighting sequences here. They wind up breaking free, like there's no agents anymore after them. But Ramsey finds out that they're going after Deckard's mom. So he suits up with all his guns and everything and splits from the group because he wants to go try and save his mom before she gets captured.
Which is just like Mia's storyline where we see him leave and never again.
Pretty much, yeah. We do not see him the rest of the movie. But the rest of our group gets some guns and some vehicles, and so they get into a giant private jet to go to the rendezvous point of Portugal because everybody's trying to all meet up there. Somehow, I guess they're expecting that even though everybody magically knows this place, that nobody's going to get caught, or that their plan's not going to get found out. I'm not sure why they think it's so safe to go meet there, but somehow they do. So let's switch gears to Letty. So, Jeremy, do you know the character that comes to save her? It's like Mr. Nobody's daughter or something like that.
Yeah, and we didn't establish her character yet either. So when we were talking about how there's the group that Mr. Nobody, was facilitating and whatnot, that little secret agent group, she was actually the one that was trying to persuade them otherwise. Like she was saying, this group that Toretto has been helping us and taking the fall for, what we could be getting in trouble for, kind of a thing. They're doing the dirty work, but yet you want to turn your backs on them. And so she's kind of the defector of that group that is trying to help the Toretto group. So at one point, she meets Dom at a bar, and they basically trade information, which sends her. He makes 3 requests / wishes to her, and one of them is to go get Letty out of prison. And so she has this idea of how to get Letty out of this underground jail. When I say underground, I just mean you can't really find it.
Oh, it's legit underground.
Yeah, but I'm just not there yet of explaining where they're at. So she has this idea of going to get Letty out. She goes into the area where Letty is, and it's really weird because Letty is imprisoned basically by the wall that Hagrid touched to Diagon Alley, where the bricks just like come apart and stuff. It was really weird. Um, so she goes and meets Letty, and then she disabled the audio in the room so that only the cameras can see them but not hear what they're saying. And she like shows Letty Dom's cross, trying to show that, you know, she's working with them. And Letty's like, you know, you could have confiscated that. He could be, you know, in your custody, so to speak. And then so uh Mr. Nobody's daughter starts telling Letty some personal things that she knows between her and Dom, which kind of makes Letty believe that she actually is in cahoots with Dom and trying to save her. And so she's trying to fake that they're having a fight when she actually like stabs Letty in the shoulder and then puts Letty's arm around her as if Letty is choking her out. So it looks like they're having a fight, but really what's happening here is that now they're taking Letty to a little area of the facility where they can heal her stab wound from the quote unquote fight. And she's in this big room and she's actually with Cypher. Cypher happens to be there as well. They're both in the medical bay of this prison area, and Cypher did her own little background thing where she set off a couple of things that had like gas that took out the people watching them. And then Cypher has this idea of how to escape, which there's like this little thing in the ceiling, like a vent, so to speak, where they had to do this thing where they had to have at least two people there because there's two switches. It reminded me of the video game It Takes Two. They both had to pull the switch at the same time so that the vent could open up. It was very weird. And Letty goes, like, how much time do we have? And the girl goes, 4 minutes. And so Letty takes it upon herself to basically have 3 minutes and, I don't know, 50 seconds of kicking Cypher's butt for a while. And then with those last couple seconds, Letty goes up into the chute to try to see if she can escape from this facility. But when she gets to the very, very top, she opens the latch and she looks around and, oh crap, she's surrounded by tons and tons of snow because
And she's just in this little tank top.
Yeah, so she's in Antarctica, which I didn't remember as a callback to Fast 8, but we will talk about in a little bit how I was reminded of that. But so far, that is Letty's background.
Oh, you might as well wrap hers up.
Okay, I can wrap hers up, I suppose. Later on, she goes back down the chute, and then Cypher's kind of like, "Hey, you need this," and she throws her a jacket because it's cold out there. And eventually, the two of them make their way out, and they find this humongous submarine. And I thought to myself, like, nah, that's from Fast 8. And the one thing that I have a problem with Fast and the Furious happens next, although I think she is an amazing, amazing actress. I really like her. She does great. I didn't really need her to come back in this one because of, you know, realistic stuff. But Gal Gadot's character is alive and well and coming out of this submarine.
I'm sorry, who?
I've heard the real pronunciation, and that's why I said that.
Is it really?
It is. You do not pronounce the T.
Interesting.
Yeah. Spicy, wasn't it? So yeah, she comes out of the submarine, and again, just like so many other people in this movie, their storyline ends here. So Letty, Cypher, and I'm sorry, I forget Gal Gadot's character's name. Yeah, they're in Antarctica with a submarine that I guess they're going to be bringing into the mix in the last movie or last two movies. There's been a lot of talk of if there's two or one more movie coming. I think it's three. But it'll be used later on. So yeah, that's their story wrapped up.
So we left Dom in this like big airplane with his car with Ames, who he was an FBI agent, right?
I thought he was part of Mr. Nobody's group. I don't know if that's the FBI or not.
I'm not sure, but he's part of some sort of tactical unit. I guess we'll just kind of leave it open-ended like that. So they're on their way to Portugal because that's where the rendezvous point is, and they hadn't. I guess before they get to the plane, they have an encounter with Momoa's character, where he. So
Are you talking about when they brought them back to the like the bridge?
yeah, but we're not there yet. So
I thought we were.
Toretto is in the van because he's been captured by these FBI guys, right? With Ames. And so he tells them to buckle up, and Toretto buckles up and nobody else does because nobody wants to listen. And that's when their car gets hit with some sort of like torpedo or something like that. And so there's like this big explosion, and magically everybody in there's fine, even though the other guys didn't put their seatbelts on. And Dante shows up with the baby mama's sister. And so they have this whole back and forth. And so she winds up making it out. Mr. Nobody.
Baby mama's sister's name is Isabel.
Isabel. That's what it is. All right. So Isabel winds up making it out, but Mr. Nobody's daughter, she winds up getting shot.
Her name is Tess.
Tess. So Isabel drives Tess to the hospital. Ames says, like, you were right. I should have listened to you, but I'm not going to tell you I'm sorry. Instead, let's just go save your son, right? So that's why they get into the airplane with Dom's car, and they find out that the rendezvous point has been compromised, and Uncle Jacob and Little B are in their like rocket car, I guess you could say. It's a car with like rockets on it to hit other targets, not necessarily that they're a rocket taking off.
It's a Fast and Furious car.
Yes, very much a Fast and Furious car. So we got this big chase scene, right? Because we've got Uncle Jacob with Little B in the car. Dante's got all these other cars going after him, including his own car that he's driving. We've got Dom winds up having the plane kind of get real low, and so he does his classic, I'm gonna take the car and jump out of the airplane in the car and then magically land perfectly on the road, start chasing after these guys because I want to save my son. So he does that while Ames goes and lands the plane somewhere else because he can't land it in the middle of the street. There's lots of cool back and forth driving and stuff. They try to use these two helicopters to strap to Dom's car, but he's able to shake them off and make them hit each other and all this other cool stuff. The rockets on Uncle Jacob's car wind up getting stuck, and Little B takes it upon himself to climb out of the vehicle and into like the trunk type area so that he can try to get them unstuck. Well, he manages to get them unstuck, but this is right when Dante drives up and grabs Little B by like his shirt or something and whips him into his own car. So now Dante has Dom's son. There's so many cars around that are part of Dante's group that Uncle Jacob thinks that Dom's only chance at getting his son back is if Uncle Jacob basically sacrifices himself with his rocket car. So he does that to take out a whole bunch of other cars. This is another one of those scenes where it looks very much like their explosion and all the fire would cause him to be dead. However, as Jeremy has pointed out, there's a chance he's not dead because we don't like to kill characters. And he's family. Yes, absolutely. Can't forget about family, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Uh, Dom is able to tell his son through the radio, or through their walkie-talkies, we're gonna finish that driving lesson. Remember what I told you, blah, blah, blah. And he does some weird thing where he makes the helicopters that he was dragging behind himself. He spins his car in a way that the helicopter hits Dante's car. Dante's car starts spinning, Dom's car is spinning, and Fast and Furious style, Little B is able to jump from one car to the next. So he gets in the car with his dad, and magically is completely okay and unharmed.
This is definitely the part where Sarah and I just rolled our eyes.
This little 7 or 8 year old kid, he's just already doing adult level stunts and knows exactly what to do in all these situations without a scratch on him. It's crazy. But Ames says, all right, we've landed the plane. Go ahead and take this service road to get off the highway to come to us. But when they take that service road, there's like this big oil tanker blocking their way on the front, and then they realize there's another oil tanker that followed them on the back, and so they're on this giant bridge. It kind of looks like the Hoover Dam is something to visualize. It's obviously not the Hoover Dam because they're in Portugal. They're not in Las Vegas. But just to give you something to visualize, it's one of those big water dams. And Dante is off on some separate cliff edge, able to talk to them through their walkie-talkies. And Jeremy, do you want to take it over from here?
Yeah. So basically, Dante's explaining to Dom, I don't know why I forgot his name for a minute. He's explaining to Dom, that, this is where he wanted him to end up all along. And Dom believes that he's got all the people around him to, help him out of this situation. But turns out that there's actually a decent twist at the end where we find out that Ames has been working with Dante this whole time. And what's really big about that is the group that was together, Han, Tej, Roman, and Ramsey, they were all flying a plane to try to meet up at this rendezvous point and help Toretto. And Ames actually shoots like a bazooka thing at their plane's engine, and it crashed. Hold on here a second. This plane has its engine burning, and it goes around the mountain a little bit, and then we see the explosion. So I almost guarantee that they use some sort of parachute to get out of there, and they're safe and sound. That's my guess. But they're leading us to believe that they just killed 4 of the family members. But
Well,
also
they did have cars in there that they very well could have released, but Dom doesn't know that and can't see that.
Right. We just, as people that have seen now 10 of these films, exactly what happened around that turn. And to a point, I think Toretto should too. But Toretto takes it upon himself to basically drive his car. Well, he has to think fast because the 2 tankers are coming at him as if they're going to crunch him in the middle. And so he has to think fast. And what he decides is he's going to drive his car over the edge of the dam and drive down the dam all the way down to the bottom where the water is. And so he gets out of the way just in time by doing his classic wheelie with his Charger. And then the tankers explode on each other. And
the flames are chasing them down that cliff. Like the flames are in their car at one point.
Yeah, it's like they stole the final shot of when Lando shoots the Falcon out of the Death Star and the flames are all around them. It was like the exact same thing. So yeah, they're going down the dam, fires all around them. The only thing that was missing is a yeah and a ha ha ha. But they land in the water. and Toretto or Dom and Little B swim out of the car. I was like, the windows were down. They're gonna get the car's gonna sink faster and they're gonna have no air. But I guess that didn't they get the doors open?
Somehow they had the doors open, which any other movie ever, you're never able to open the doors underwater. So I don't know why.
Yeah. So something that I don't ever talk about is that's actually one of my fears in life is being trapped in a car underwater. And so I was thinking about that.
You said the windows were open. I bet you that's why they were able to open the doors. You can't open the doors when the windows are closed because of the air pressure. There's so much air in the vehicle cabin that with the water just immediately going in, I bet that's why the doors opened.
See, they learned their physics. They learned their physics. So they're able to get out of the car and they, walk up on the land that's on the side of the water there. And it really upsets Dante. And so Dante actually has a whole bunch of mines around the dam and he um, pushes the button for them to explode. And then we get Dom's reaction of, oh crap. And then they cut away from them. And that's the end of their storyline for this movie. See, are there any other things that we forgot? There's one more thing. That was the mid-credit scene, but I'm trying to see if we covered the whole movie first. I think that was about it.
I think we wrapped up everybody that had something to wrap up.
Okay. So the last thing, which honestly was the biggest surprise in my opinion, is we get a mid-credit scene of this squad, like a SWAT team type deal, that are infiltrating. Is it the police station again? I thought it was like a church.
You're gonna give me more to go off of. I forgot about this scene already.
Oh wow. I'll just run with it. It looked like a church, but it was supposed to resemble the same
Oh,
situation as when Dom went to the police station and then had all these things around him. Like,
it was a church, right?
and there's like a phone there that rings, and the SWAT team person who's covered all up, picks up the phone, and Dante's telling him like, you know, I'm hunting Dom and his family for what they did. However, you're the one that pulled the trigger and killed my father. And turns out that this SWAT team member looking dude is actually Dwayne Johnson's character, and he removes his mask or his like whatever you want to call that
SWAT helmet.
face covering. It's more like a hat texture. It's not a helmet, but it is confirmed at least from this end credit scene that Dwayne Johnson will be making his return to finish off this saga, which I thought was very interesting because there was so much back and forth of Dwayne Johnson saying that he would never work with Vin Diesel again, that they got me. I believed it and it worked. So I think that's about it that we need to cover from the movie. There's only the one mid-credit scene. There is not a second one later on. I thought there would be, but there wasn't. So yeah, let's get into what we thought of the movie. So I will tell you that I thought the movie was very entertaining. I thought this movie was better than the last few Fast and the Furious movies that have come out. Again, I don't remember what happened in Fast 9, so I didn't really like that one. I thought, honestly, it was very stupid how they brought my favorite character back, and I still resent them for it. But I also, Fast 8 was okay. Fate of the Furious. I don't remember Fast 7. I don't remember exactly what happens in each of these, just that this one, I was telling Sarah as we were leaving the theater, this is the first one where I was like, you know what? I do want to see the next one after this. So
Well, I left it with some major cliffhangers.
yeah. And they had some cool new characters. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I'm ready for the next one. I know they make tons of these movies. They are absolutely ridiculous with all the things that happen in them, but this one makes me wanting another one. What'd you think, Sarah?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I will agree there's some definitely ridiculous parts, as I kind of mentioned when we were going through it, especially with all the tricks and stunts that the kid was doing, but there was some cool things too. That if you step aside from how ridiculously unrealistic some of these stunts are, they're kind of fun to watch. And as you told me when the movie was done, it's entertaining, and that's really what you're there for, is for entertainment. So I thought that was neat. Um, Jason Momoa's character. So I was not sure how he was going to play out, but we've had so many villains that were kind of like, the brute jerk, slash, kind of evil and conniving, that to have somebody who was kind of more psychotically evil, that I thought was really cool. And his character was quite honestly ridiculous and silly. And I love ridiculous and silly things. So I thought he was a great addition um, to the team of villains, especially as Google has him credited as was just villain. Still blows my mind. Um,
He's arguably, I think, our favorite character from the movie, hence the fact that we both have him as our background. His character was pretty dope.
yeah. Um, Things that I thought were not super great. I have two kind of nitpicky type things. All right, so the first one is when this movie first started, the first, I don't know, half hour or so, I was thinking like, oh man, is this what it's really gonna be like? Because it was the super cheesy, family means everything, here's all these life lessons. I don't even understand the purpose of the grandma coming there, because to me she was just a wasted character. I didn't really like her. I thought she was just there just for the sake of having somebody there that's family. Um,
I
I
feel
don't
like
really see what she added to the film.
I feel like if they really want to go, like, I feel like they have to go dark, especially if this is a trilogy. The second movie, usually in a trilogy, is a pretty dark film. Hence Empire Strikes Back, The Dark Knight for Batman, The Two Towers for Lord of the Rings. So I think, and I really hope they do, is that they have some braveness, to put it
Grandma got
nicely.
ran over by Momoa.
Basically, because Toretto's group took Dante's dad from him. So I could very easily see him taking out Toretto's parent, the one that he has left. So
That would
um,
be redeeming, I suppose.
I kind
Um,
of
the
wonder.
the other part of this like cheesy family stuff that I wasn't really digging was the filming style. It seemed really awkward and kind of amateur, the way that they were cutting between different people when they were talking. It was weird. Did you pick up on that too?
I didn't pick up on it being weird, but I definitely picked up that the style was different. I know that there was somebody new behind the camera. Usually it was Justin Lin, but I don't know what the guy's name is that they had do this one.
I
Um,
feel like it got better throughout the film, but that first like half hour or so, it seemed not as good.
I don't know. I would say, well, keep going, keep going. I got my own things.
So that's it in terms of like filming style and stuff that I'm going to be nitpicky about. The other thing that I think I'm not sure how they could do better, but I wasn't really a fan of was, oh my gosh, this is a trap, and this is a setup, and this is a setup, and this is a setup, and this is a setup. Oh my gosh, we've been set up. How many times are you going to get set up over and over and over and over before you realize everything's a setup and you can't trust anybody? Come on. It was
Yeah,
too much. Too many setups in a row. Overdone.
yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay. Um,
I
Okay,
told you it's not much, but it's the little things.
so the first thing that I want to talk about that I actually didn't like was one of the things that I really like about these movies. As you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's over the top, it's stupid." One of the things that they establish, at least in my opinion, are good characters, and one of my favorite things is the banter back and forth. Like they're in the older ones, I feel like Han has some really hilarious one-liners. And also between Tej and um
Roman?
Roman. Between those two, they usually have some really good back and forths, but I feel like this movie, they actually really sucked. The A lot of their jokes were ones that you've heard of, like the Tej saying something to Roman and Roman sneezes and says, "I'm allergic to your BS." That's been done thousands of times already. And it's like you really couldn't have found something better there to be more funny kind of a thing. Um
The one between them, though, that I do think was pretty good was Roman was being all protective of his money because he was the only one with cash left. So he's letting the other members of their little posse borrow some of his cash because that's all the money that they had. Tej wanted to get a snack from the vending machine, and so Roman was telling him, "You better get a receipt for that." And then later, Roman has to buy, like, weapons and stuff from Deckard. And Tej goes, "You gonna get a receipt from him? Because I'd like to see that, because there's no way you're gonna get a receipt from that guy, you know? He's gonna whoop your butt if you try to ask him for a receipt. Like, don't be ridiculous."
yeah,
So I thought that was pretty funny back and forth.
yeah.
But the
I
one
don't
about
know.
Han with his snack, that seemed too forced, I think.
I felt like there really was no point with him and oh, are you talking about when he was fighting um Statham's character?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were
He
talking about
like he like opened a bag of chips or Cheez-Its or something, and then Deckard Shaw or Jason Statham, starts beating up on him and knocks his chips out of his hand, and he goes, "You ruined my snack." I just like I get they're trying to play on the fact that he likes to eat chips and stuff all the time, but it just seemed forced.
I thought the pot muffin thing was also kind of stupid. It wasn't pot,
Yeah.
it was drugs.
It
Uh,
didn't lead anywhere.
no, that's why I was saying, it was stupid. He tripped out on some muffins that had drugs in them, which I guess was a laugh for the audience, but it was stupid. It led nowhere. And um, if it had something where it would have led to it and, would have been something funny, great. But it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I will say, I leaned over to Sarah and I was like trying to figure out who this Dante character is and what does he remind me of. And when we first saw him, I kind of thought he was like the Joker in a way because for some reason movies can't make really good villains unless they are a copy of Heath Ledger. But as he evolved in the movie, I felt like he transitioned to like a Jack Sparrow type character. As like the way he talks, the way he runs funny. Um, and also his fashion is like the genie from the live action version of Aladdin. Um, Once after we see like the serious version of him from the flashback with his dad, he just like completely turns into like a different person. So he's
He
all
don't have
over
his
the
dad there
place.
to rule his life anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's why his dad was hard on him, is because he was so weird.
Well, they also said when they were doing the background on him that he bounced from like juvie to jail to different jail to psych ward to psych ward. Like he bounced around a lot, and one of the places they said he was in before was a psych ward. So he's got some stuff going on upstairs.
Yeah, he's kooky. Um, One thing I will say that I like about this film, and for those of you that know we love Star Wars, this may come as a shocker to you. Um, I feel like they are handling the end of this franchise better than Star Wars was handled. One of the things that I think is really cool about this film, and hopefully it's giving some solid hope for what's yet to come. I feel like they're paying tribute to a lot of the past in a way that's not just like, here's fan service, enjoy it. It's actually starting to mean something. And I hope that this is leading to like some like really epic finale, where we have all of our characters back together doing something crazy. Like, of all the things they've done in Fast and the Furious franchise, what are they going to bring everybody together to do, to wrap this whole series up? I also want to mention that this movie had a lot of, in my opinion, really cool action sequences and some like over the top type stuff. It makes me wonder where they're heading towards, because if this is going to be like a trilogy, you can't start off with your best stuff in the first movie. They have to progressively get better and more ridiculous. So it makes me wonder what the actual ending of this series is going to be like. Again, what is that over the top thing going to be? And I guess the last thing is, and this is partially a thing I don't like from this film, but I'm having some hope for the future, is they really, I for one, I don't believe that John Cena's character is dead. It looks like he would die from what he did, but I'm holding out a little bit, at least until the second movie, if they confirm that he's actually dead. Um, I don't know if the series has the guts to kill off main characters. I think that they should. I think they should have some real danger for these characters for like the first time ever. Because even the first time that we thought Letty was dead, find out, I think the next movie, that she's actually alive. So, um, it's better than Star Wars in the way that they handled Chewbacca's death, where we find out he's alive 2 minutes later. But I hope that this series can kill some people off and have it mean something. Which actually is leading to what I was talking about when we were talking about the movie, when we were talking about whether Dom and Letty may be pregnant. I half wonder if what's going to happen is that she's going to be pregnant, and in the last film, Dom Toretto dies, and she names their newborn son Dom, and then their two kids will be Dom and Brian.
I could see that.
I kind of wonder if that's where this is going. I think we already touched on, there's rumor that Paul Walker's character is in this movie. The answer is yes, but it's all reused stuff. Nothing is new. Absolutely nothing. So the scenes he was in for Fast Five, they were all stripped out and put into this movie. And there's also some, like when they had pictures of him in different spots, those were actually like pictures from promos of the old films, and also I believe some of like the Blu-ray or DVD covers. That's where
Yeah.
those pictures were coming from.
So his character technically is in this film, but his character does not come back to rejoin the group.
Yeah, there's nothing new per se with his character. Now, they may use some like really solid, like we've seen that Disney has a really, really good version of deep fake. Maybe they're prepping Paul Walker's brother to come in and play his character in the final movie or something.
Well, they've done that before with the last movie he was in. There was like a final scene or something like that they did that already.
Yes, but everybody's going to hate me when I say I think that didn't look very good. You could definitely tell something was off, in my opinion. Because they did not, that was his brother that filmed that last scene. That was not Paul Walker. So I hope that it's going to end up being better than that version of CGI, which leads me to one more thing I want to say about this movie. This movie, like the whole franchise, has made tons and tons of money. There were some sections in this movie I thought the CGI looked kind of bad, like bad. What did you notice that?
No, but when you were talking about Paul Walker, it reminded me that they reused that goodbye song.
Yeah.
It was altered so it wasn't as much of a punch to the gut, but I picked up on it that they were using that song again.
Yeah, they kind of used the melody throughout when Dom was like looking at the pictures in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, I picked up on that too. But there is a handful of action sequences, and you can really tell with the ones that have people involved. Like it's one thing for like to CGI some cars, but it's a whole other thing when you have actual people that you have to put in there. And I thought some of those where we actually saw people, one of them being when Little B jumped from car to car. I thought that looked kind of rough. There's also another scene. I want to say it was the Rome thing, the Rome incident, but when the car was like going down the stairs, I thought that looked really weird. Um, yeah,
There was Go ahead.
I thought some of the CGI for a film that is supposed to bring in tons of money, I feel like they kind of cheaped out a little bit on the CGI.
There was a spot when Cypher and Letty were fighting when they were trying to escape that like medical building or whatever that they were in. There was a fight scene in that I could almost tell that it was a stunt double for Letty. Like they showed it was like they showed a quarter millisecond of her face or something as she was, like flipping her hair or whatever, trying to do some sort of move, and it just didn't look quite right.
Hmm. Yeah, those are key spots for that kind of a thing to happen too, especially since it was such a close encounter. Um,
Yeah, her face was taking up like a good chunk of the screen. It was pretty zoomed in on her when it happened. And I was like, ooh, they probably should have edited that a little different or maybe cut it a split second faster or something.
One thing I thought was kind of cool, just so I can give some more positives about this film, was that when they had the Rome sequence, they had the city filled with people. It wasn't just like empty streets and random cars like a video game. We actually got to see actual people alongside the roads having reactions to things, which I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
It brought realism to the incident, not just, oh, there's these cars going down the street kind of a thing. So I really like that.
Yeah. It's really easy to talk about the things that are bothersome. But I agree that the movie as a whole was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Another one last thing I'll connect back to the just because I forgot to mention it. It connects back to not having guts to kill characters. There was one moment where I was like, "Oh my God, are they gonna actually kill somebody?" And it was when they were on the area, um, when Dom was in the vehicle with Ames and they got hit by the missile and they had like this standoff between the agents and Dante's people. Um, Toretto gets in a fist fight with Dante, and Dante is like, "Do you like ballet?" And then he like points in one direction, and what's happening is he's pointing at the people that he wants his sniper in the air to take out, and he snipes um Tess, which I thought would have been killing her. Um, he also snipes Ames, and then he also almost hits uh
Isabella?
Isabella. Thank you. But all these people make it out, and I was just like, okay, come on. You know, if anybody's gonna die, if we're gonna save the legacy characters, kill off somebody that was introduced in this movie. Tess could have been that one. Um, even in Rome, Dante almost kills Mr. Nobody's son, but he jumps out of the car and makes it out just fine. It's like, come on, kill somebody. I don't care. Kill somebody. And then they kill one dude that nobody cares about. I'm sorry, nobody cares about. The one from the race. I don't believe any of the other ones are actually dead at this moment.
Did you like how Dom had told Tess when she had God's Eye, the little keypad that had all the information on how to use the God's Eye program? She kept it in her back pocket, and he goes, "That's like the kind of thing you'd want to put in a safe somewhere." And she said she made some sort of comment about how people steal safes because he stole a safe, and that it
Yeah.
would be safer in her back pocket. And then Dante later just takes it out of her back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, I called it about Dante's brother from the very beginning because what they did, they spent,
Friend,
huh? Oh,
friend.
it's not his brother. Sorry, I assumed it was his brother, Ames. Sorry, I think they're brothers, but Sarah told me they're not.
I
Uh,
don't think they are.
so when Dante, when they're covering like present day Dante and his motive to take out Toretto and his group. Literally, like the scene after that is the one where Ames is trying to get the people above him's approval to either arrest or kill Dom and his group. So that was like thing number one of, oh, he might be working with Dante. And also, Dante makes a comment about like uh how like he says, Dom, I brought you back to the spot where you had my father killed. And I thought to myself, how exactly did Dante get him there? And he wasn't a part of the vehicle that because he was this Dom was with Ames. He wasn't with Dante. And although we're having this shootout between Ames and Dante's people, um, it didn't make sense of why Dante said he brought him there, but yet it was Ames. And then this all connects later on. I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but I felt like they had the same mannerisms too, between Ames and Dante, just the way that they held themselves. Um, Ames wasn't as psychotic as Dante, but some of the like gestures that they made were very similar, like with their face and how they talked and whatnot. So I caught it from the beginning, but maybe it was a lucky guess. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the other movies if they're actually brothers or not.
I didn't pick up on it right away, but it also wasn't a super surprise because of what I was saying about how everything was a setup. So it wasn't a big surprise that, oh my gosh, there's another setup.
One last setup. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
I'm looking forward to seeing the next one.
Which is something I did not think we were going to say at the end of this one. I did enjoy it more than Guardians of the Galaxy. Some of you may think I'm crazy for that. But this movie held my attention. I feel like,
Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's such a bang, bang, bang type movie that you really don't have time to get bored, in my opinion. So that's why I really enjoyed it. If you can have your suspension of disbelief with physics, I think you'll do just fine. And I also don't think you really have to watch the other movies. I felt like they did a pretty decent job. Oh, okay. I felt like they did a pretty decent job of letting you know what you needed to know for this movie and where they're going. I didn't finish my thought on the whole Star Wars thing of why this is better than what I think will be a better finish than Star Wars. And that was um, they aren't relying on basically fan service, I don't think, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of the choices that they're making for these different characters has a purpose. Whereas I felt like a lot of the things with Star Wars, it was, oh, you remember this guy? Oh, he's gonna go do this random thing. Oh, you remember this guy? Okay, yeah, he's gonna do this little thing. Whereas I feel like this movie, and this is my hope, is that they actually have this trilogy planned out so that everything works together and it's not just some discombobulated mess by the time it's all over. And I think they're going to stick the landing pretty well for this franchise, which is kind of hard to say nowadays.
I am curious how they're going to turn it into a trilogy because this seems like it could be a two-parter. I don't know how it's going to be a three-parter, so that'll be interesting.
I don't know. I was kind of thinking to myself, like, based on what they've done in the past with, how much they ramp things up with these movies and the different stunts, I felt like this was mellow enough where they could elevate some of the stuff that they were doing. Um, I think if they're gonna have a trilogy, they really need a dark middle chapter, and I'm curious if it'll happen. If they don't have that planned, I think it'll be two-part. If they're not willing to risk some death in the franchise, I think they only have one more. I think if they're
Not death in the family. Everybody's family, Jeremy.
I was gonna say something so dark. I don't think I should say it on camera. I was gonna say it's still family in the cemetery. When you're all together.
This
That's
is true.
that's horrible. But yeah, we look forward to the next one. It's awesome to see in IMAX. That's what we saw it in, so I recommend it. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We're doing movie discussions all the time. We have movie discussions planned out for quite a few other movies too. Just to ramble off a handful of them from the top of my head. We're gonna have Little Mermaid. We're gonna have Indiana Jones. We're gonna have Insidious when it comes out. Excuse me. Oppenheimer. We're gonna go see that. Any of them that you remember?
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Yep. Maybe Elemental. We've been thinking about that one as well. It's a new Disney movie. And a handful of others. I'm sure there's some that I forgot to mention. So yeah, we have a whole bunch coming out for you. And it's not going to stop just this summer. The next movie in October there's two of them that I'm stoked for. Saw 10 and Five Nights at Freddy's. And I know Sarah is super pumped for that as well. So stick around with us. We'll have tons of these discussions for you. Drops a like if you liked the video and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on Fast 10. And where do you think this franchise is going? Is it going to be 2 movies? Is it going to be 3 movies? And what you think will happen? And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.